Hi everybody, so this is my first outdoor fully tropical video of the year, a huge milestone for the beginning of May. I want to show you how you can make your patio look tropical. For many years, especially growing up in New York City, I thought you needed a lot of space in the ground to grow big tropical plants, but I'm going to show you some tropical plants. A lot of them are ones that are not very common that do very, very well on my patio. I have really hot spots on my patio, and I also have very shady spots, and there is a tropical plant for all of those situations that are absolutely amazing and fast growing. First, we're going to start with the hot loving plants, and then I'll work my way into the shady parts of the patio and make sure that you have a right plant for your patio. We're just gonna cut right to the chase and show some very pretty plants. So my Plumeria, typically it doesn't start flowering inside the house, but sometimes it does. And when it does, I get blooms right off the start of the season. I always recommend that people grow variety of Plumeria that are early season bloomers because the flowers will usually come up before the leaves. And that's great in a northern climate where maybe you don't have a long enough growing season for it to grow a full bundle of leaves before it starts flowering. So for those of you who don't know, Plumeria do lose their leaves during the dry season or during our winter. In the tropics, it's the dry season, and you'll even get dead leaves like this, and this is from last year, so that just naturally happens, and obviously new flowers and new leaves takes its place. So this variety is called California Sunset, the most beautiful, vibrant flowers. The flowers are a little bit faded right now because it's still early in the year, but when it's hot out, it gets this beautiful deep color. And I have 2 inflorescences. This is a 3rd one, a 4th one, a 5th one, a 6th one. So each one of those inflorescences, they produce hundreds and hundreds of flowers. So I will get probably about 1,000 flowers by the end of the season from that one plant. So California Sunset is an awesome Plumeria. And if you want to kind of like start Plumeria from cuttings, it really couldn't be easier. You just take a piece of the stem, you just cut it, and you put it in soil. So it really is probably the easiest plant to start in the world from cutting. This year I'm going for a Mediterranean-ish kind of look with clay pots over here. The actual plants are not from the Mediterranean though. We have pineapples, which is a plant from the Americas, and you can't go wrong with these absolutely beautiful flowers. I believe it's a Gazania flower, and I'm kind of new to growing them. I grew them last year and they bloomed non-stop all summer, all the way up to Thanksgiving, so I love it. The flowers are really special because they actually close every single night. Crown of Thorns is fantastic. It's a very deserty looking plant, does very well in a clay container because clay containers are porous, so they don't hold a lot of moisture. So it's great for plants like cacti that don't like a lot of moisture. And these all do fantastic in a very, very hot, sunny spot. My citrus also tend to do pretty well in containers where I water it a lot. They like water that drains fast. This is my variegated centennial kumquat. This is the biggest that the fruit gets, and I just love kumquats. You'll have to watch some of my other videos. I talk about this plant a lot. I have mandevilla just climbing up the arbor. So all of this are, you know, beautiful sun-loving plants. I have a couple of other crown of thorns. This one is really cool because it has variegated leaves. So you see those little creamy leaves and then some more pretty flowers mixed in. And I just love mixing succulents because succulents bring so much color without even requiring any blooms. I love desert rose. This is not in bloom right now. Just like the Plumeria, desert rose do go dormant during the winter time, and they'll get their leaves as we move into spring and summer, later spring, because they really do require a lot of heat to start getting their leaves. I have some Plumeria that don't have any leaves on them yet. They're all sticks. These are all sun-loving plants that really require a lot of sun and a lot of heat. This Plumeria is called Scott Pratt, and as I was mentioning before, you really want Plumeria that bloom early in the season, so look for varieties that bloom early in the season, because Scott Pratt never blooms here, never blooms. But it looks like maybe this year, it's hard to tell, but I might be getting a bloom. If I get a bloom now, then I'll be so happy. It just seems to be that red Plumeria really require a lot more heat. Red flowering Plumeria. I don't know why, but that's just the way it is. And a couple of other plants that actually probably don't prefer too much sun are these beautiful bird of paradise. They're not deserty plants, so they just don't love like piping hot sunshine, but I do have them in the piping hot sun. And these beautiful sun patients actually can handle a decent amount of sun, but they need a lot of water if you're going to put them in sun. I have my Singapore twist Cordyline here. This is a tea plant. Look how big it is. This plant is so much taller than I am. So these are all great sun options. But the ones that really need the sun are going to, of course, be those flowering crown of thorns and desert rose and the plumeria. The more sun, the better. Plumeria like a lot of water with their sun, but they do very well in sunshine. And I want to show you my hibiscus, because coming straight out of winter, hibiscus don't always look great. These are the tropical hibiscus, not to be confused with the hardy hibiscus that you can leave outside. The tropical ones need to go indoors. So I actually have the part that was facing the wall in my house from this hibiscus. I have it kind of facing the sun, so that way I can get some leaves on this bare part of it. There are more leaves on the back right now, and I'll rotate this when we get a couple more leaves on the back end. Now notice, so even though this was inside the house, there's really not a lot of burn from the sun on these leaves. So I acclimated everything in shade for 2 weeks. I just posted a video about it, and you can see there is very little burn. There's some minor burn on the leaves, but for the most part, despite this getting blazing hot sun, there's really not a lot of burn, and especially on this. I was very nervous about my variegated hibiscus, because if this burns, it's not going to come back as easily, because the variegated plants grow a lot more slow. And no burn, no problems. I am starting my seeds in the blazing hot part of my patio. These will go in the ground, but I have squash, I have melons, and I have watermelons, and everything is coming up, even though we've only really had consistent days in the 70s, and they really like 80-degree heat. They're coming up very, very easily, because they are getting a lot of sunshine, because a deck just gets really hot. I mean, if you have ever walked on a deck barefoot, you know that it is not a pleasant experience. All right, working our way into another sunny part of the patio, but it gets a little bit more kind of midday to evening sun. So right now it's getting sun. I absolutely love my triangle palm. Triangle palms have this like awesome looking, very artistic kind of trunk, and that's where it gets its triangle name from. And I just think that they're so exotic looking, and they're so easy to grow. They can handle a decent amount of cold. This and the Bismarkia palm are both, I believe they're both native to Madagascar, but they can handle a decent amount of chill. I've kept them both outside in temperatures that are down into the 30s, and they do very well. This is another beautiful tea plant. I just love the variation of the leaves and the colors and the size of Hawaiian tea plants. You just saw the one before that had those really fanny looking fronds that all grow in the same direction, and this one has really tiny looking leaves, and they're just beautiful. This is a Mickey Mouse elephant ear. I think this is just so cute, and so I'm going to kind of let that grow and dangle from underneath that tea plant. I of course love agave. Agave are so great in full sun. This is another tea plant. It's like a tradition that every year I accidentally break off a stem of my tea plant. I did it last year, and then you can see it grew back. There's not a lot of leaves on it right now, because this particular variety does not like being inside the house during the winter, but it'll come back, and it's so worth growing, because look at those pinks. How beautiful is that? And again, really no leaf burn on this. There's a little bit of burn. It's not even burn. It's a little bit of damage just from being inside the house during the winter and low humidity, but no burn from the sun. And that's because, what did I do? I acclimated my plants for 2 weeks in the shade. That's right. I keep repeating it because I have been a victim. I don't even know if I want to call myself a victim. I've been stupid. I just put my plants out in full sun and I've let them burn and die, but I don't do it anymore. So full shade, 2 weeks. My Bismarkia palm really didn't even need that acclimating time, because I've had it outside since like March. This is a false agave. It's not pointy. I could do this and it doesn't even hurt. If you did that with a real agave, it hurt a lot. This is Gaussia Princeps, a beautiful looking palm from Cuba. Don't really recommend it that much as a container palm. It's been kind of a little bit of a pain for me. You can see the new fronds are actually growing stunted, but I've had it for 3 years and it's still alive. So I mean, that's got to count count for something, but it's not my favorite palm. It kind of looks like a majesty palm, so maybe just grow a majesty palm. This is a very unusual hibiscus to see in a container, and I'm hoping one day I'm going to get some flowers from it. You may know it as a sea hibiscus, like the ocean. It grows in very salty areas in the tropics. It's Hibiscus tiliaceus, and she is a queen because look firstly at these leaves. These are, of course, going to get better and better because these are all indoor leaves. The whole plant actually went into shock. So every single leaf that you see here grew inside the house over the winter because when I brought it inside the house, the leaves all fell off the hibiscus. And I was like, oh no, this is bad. Because, you know, hibiscus tend to lose their leaves, but this is not your typical tropical hibiscus that you have lots of flowers and grows really well as a patio plant. This is a tropical hibiscus that people just don't really grow up north. So I has had nothing to base any experience on, and so that's why I wanted to share my experience with you on this plant, because it's just been a delight to grow. It has these beautiful leaves, and the flowers are amazing. I just don't know if I'll ever actually get flowers, and that's kind of the fun, is that people just aren't growing this plant up north. Good luck finding information about it up north. People maybe grow it for like a year, but I've had it for 3 years now. I got it as a really tiny plant. It's growing in a tiny container, and it's just gotten bigger and bigger and better. It's one of my tallest plants now, and I got it from Logi's online. It's an online nursery. This is a New Zealand flax lily, a gigantic, beautiful plant that I left out in the snow, in the cold during the winter time. It can handle down to like 20 degrees Fahrenheit, although I think like 30-ish is when I brought it into the garage, and it stayed in the garage during the winter. And look at these leaves, just so cool. Don't really know exactly what to do with it yet. Some of these plants aren't in their permanent spot. So I do have like the little plastic container. My old man palm. We're still talking plants that really like full sun. My old man palm is another one of those plants that love full sun. This is a palm tree that hails from Cuba, and it's called an old man palm because of these little fibers on it. They look like an old man's beard. I have a lady palm that is actually in a lot more shade than you would think. It's late in the evening, and it gets late evening sunshine for like 2 hours, but otherwise it's totally shaded from overhead because of these huge trees. So lady palms are one of those plants that are great for shade. So we are going to start talking about the shady part of the garden now, even though I know I'm in blazing sun. Like I said, this is a late day sun, so it's less intense. But if these plants had no direct sun, they'd be even happier. Ficus Tineke, love, love, love low light. Lower the light, the better. We do have some damage on the leaves from being inside the house, but what did I do? I acclimated the plant to the sunshine by putting it in the shade for 2 weeks. Made a big difference. So I actually don't even have any burn on those leaves, and that has been really great. I'm going to go into an even shadier part of my garden. I'm going to want to show you a couple more shade plants. Firstly, this is in the garden, not on the patio, but you could easily grow rhododendron as a container plant because there's some dwarf varieties that stay nice and small, and just look at the flowers on this. Let me see if I have the tag still on this. This variety is called Yaku rhododendron. It seems to be a low growing one. It's very pretty, those flowers. I've always wanted kind of like the pinks and reds, and this is a deciduous rhododendron, and this variety, luckily I have the tag because I forget the names of everything. It's an Azalea Klondyke. Azalea Klondyke, beautiful yellow flame-like flowers later in the month. But again, this is all shade. You can grow them in containers. Holly ferns are great. These are Zone 7 plants, so they stay evergreen and do really well in a Zone 7, especially a southern Zone 7. Fuchsia are like an amazing flower for a shady spot in the garden, along with Coleus do well. This is actually a full sun plant that I'm still acclimating to the great outdoors. My Licuala Grandis, my potato chip palm. The fronds stay fused. So, you know, most palms have these frilly looking fronds that make them so special, but a Licuala fused. Love it. Awesome look. Very tropical palm. A pain in the butt to grow, but what's the fun of gardening if you're not in like suffering? Another plant that gives me agita is, of course, my Musa AA banana. Some people have said that this is not a Musa AA, it's a Musa Florida. Honestly, I don't know. but it was sold as a Musa AA, and I have seen literally no research online that really identifies whether something is a AA or a Florida variegated banana. But the point is, it's a variegated banana, which means it's, you know, kind of on the pricier side, and I don't want it to die. What's funny is that you can actually see the pollen on the leaves because this is such a white leaf. You can see the pollen from the trees. But anyway, yes, this is eventually going to go in sun. I actually think I'm going to put the Musa AA banana in the ground, even though it's been in a pot for many years. I want to put it in the ground over here just for the summer, because I think those white leaves are going to look so good with my black coral elephant ear. So anyway, yes, that's kind of more of a sun plant, but again, I am acclimating it to the shade. I want to show you a palm tree that you have to grow in the shade. But first, look at this beauty over here. This is my Musa Sikkimensis banana. It was once considered as cold tolerant as the Musa Beiju banana, which is a perennial in New York. It is the only banana that's a perennial, and everybody knows about it now because it's such a reliable perennial. But Musa Sikkimensis is not as cold tolerant as a Beiju, but I will tell you, it is the only banana plant other than my Musa Incente, my Abilesian red banana. Other than that, this is the only one that survived in the garage this winter. All the tropical banana plants died. This one was actually growing new leaves in the middle of winter. So a very, very hardy banana, just not a frost hardy banana. It can just handle a lot of cold. And when I did expose it to hard freeze, it died to the ground. And it did come back, but just letting you know, it's maybe not a zone 7 banana unless you live in a like southeastern climate where you just briefly get cold and you have a lot of warm days in the winter and the ground doesn't freeze that much. Then maybe it's a zone 7 banana for you. Anyway, sun, shade, doesn't really matter. I had it in shade last year. This year I have it in full sun. It's growing much faster in full sun, but this is the most epic palm tree for shade or maybe partial sun, my Flamethrower palm. I always keep this kind of in a shady part of the patio. Right now it's still in full shade because I wanted to acclimate to sun. Last year, I did not acclimate it to the sun properly. Look at the damage on those fronds. It grows one frond a year, and that's it. So I definitely didn't want anything to get damaged this year. And the newest frond, which is huge, by the way, is very nice and green still. And look at that new one that's coming up. It is very tall. That's why it only grows one a year, because it's so ridiculously long, these fronds. And of course, it's called the Flamethrower palm because the frond turns deep red. Another great shade plant is my Staghorn fern. Look at how marvelous it looks. This is the first year I've ever hanged it before. And I had like a chair from Pier 1 that was like just a hazard. So I took the chair down and I was like, what am I going to do with this pole? And I put a Staghorn fern on the pole. I've had this Staghorn fern since 2015. I've had the chair since I lived in Florida, and I moved it with me everywhere, even though it was always like a funky, horrible chair. And anyway, finally found a use for the pole that the chair dangled from, because I'm absolutely loving this Staghorn fern. This Adondola palm can handle sun, shade. I have it in shade this year, and I think it's going to do fantastic. So those are a few shade options, very tropical plants that nobody else seems to be growing up here. Staghorn ferns, some people are growing, but nobody's growing Flamethrower palms, and they're so easy. I have had it for a long time. It can handle some decent cold. The variegated plants are great in the shade. I have a Monstera Thai constellation. This was a very expensive plant at one point, and now it's getting much more reasonable, and I just absolutely love it. Much prettier than the green form and more compact too. Green Monsteras are just huge plants, and this one I think is much better. I love this beautiful Philodendron cortatum. It is another uncommon plant to find. Philodendron do great in the shade. It's like an elephant ear, but it's kind of a little bit cooler than a regular elephant ear because it has this nice crawling stem. It's like a vine. In the wild and in the tropics, it grows up trees, and over here, it just does really well dangling right by my pond. My Crinum lily gets sun. I did try and acclimate this to sunshine, but I ended up getting some damaged leaves. Not a big deal, because with the Crinum lilies, they grow so fast. So, I mean, like, I grew this in Florida, and it would get frost damage every year and die to the ground. And not every year, but during cold winters, it would die to the ground. And anyway, it would come up beautifully. So I'm not really super worried about it getting sun damage. It'll grow so fast. I have a couple other cool plants. This brugmansia, part sun or full sun is fine for brugmansias. These are angel trumpets, and the flowers are just so fragrant. I was showing you one of them before. These are all really small plants still, and they're going to get big by the end of the year. And what's really cool about brugmansia is that you can actually just store them in the garage. And they're very hardy, so you just dig them up, or if you have them in a container, you just roll it into the garage, and that's all you have to do. So just a couple of suggestions. I also love in shade. I know I talked about agaves and succulents for sun, but they actually can do very well in shade. And if you have like one of these strawberry planters, I actually prefer them in the shade in these planters, because they get kind of like sprawly looking, you see, and that kind of like helps fill up the gaps. I lost a few this winter inside the house. They like literally fell out of the planter, so I'm gonna have to replant them. I just think it's a very cool, unusual look that not a lot of people are doing. And this is I call it a palm tree begonia, and it's because of the little finger-like fronds. Some people think that it looks like marijuana. I don't grow it, and I don't know much about it, but if that's what you say it looks like, then that is cool by me, because it is a beautiful looking plant, and I absolutely love the begonia flowers on that begonia, and it gets like this nice like cane shape. It's just an awesome plant. This is also very nice. I know it looks disheveled right now. It's like falling on itself. I have it in a tomato cage, and it's like bursting through the tomato cage. This is an epiphyllum, oxypellum. Everybody says, hey, it's the plant from the movie Crazy Rich Asians, and yes, it is native to Southeast Asia, and it only blooms usually like twice a year for me, for one night only. It'll like flush with like a dozen flowers on the whole plant, and all the flowers open up on the plant at the same time for like one night only, and then it'll happen like twice, and it's the most amazing smelling thing in the world. And when it happens, like, I'm taking off from work. Anyway, that's a little tour of my yard. You can see that things are incomplete still, and that's okay. That is the fun of gardening. We don't want things to be perfect. What am I doing next? Well, I have this really cool raised bed area that I haven't really known what to do with for a while. And at first I was like, this is going to just be cut flowers like dahlias and zinnias, and I'm just going to cut flowers for my house all year long and for my friends and family. But then I started running out of room for my veggies. I wanted to do purple sweet potatoes, so I'm going to do purple sweet potatoes here, and you're seeing those come up on that side, full sun on this side, part sun over here. So I'm doing basil. Basil can handle a little bit less sun, so herbs are always good if you want a veggie garden in a more part sun situation. And I'm just really excited because purple sweet potatoes are just so cool. Cilantro is just coming up everywhere from last year's plants. It reseeded itself, and I have cilantro growing. Is it cilantro or parsley? You only know by smelling it. Cilantro. I love cilantro. I know it's a love-hate thing. I have it growing in the lawn. I love cilantro, so this is all fine. And I don't spray my lawn with any pesticides, so I can just seed it straight from the lawn. Anyway, so I'm doing a mixture of herbs and veggies, and I'm also going to still do cut flowers. I'm going to do zinnias. Not zinnias. Zinnias I'll go in the front yard. I'm going to just show it to you so that way you can see it. I'm going to do dahlias, if I can grab them. Nah, whatever. I'm just going to flip the camera. We're going to do dahlias. So dahlias are just beautiful. These flowers are kind of falling apart right now, but in the summer you'll just have absolute loads of beautiful dahlia flowers. And what I love about dahlias is that they were actually grown as a crop during the Aztec era, I believe. I think it was the Aztecs that grew dahlias as a kind of like potato-like crop. They didn't grow them for flowers. So I think it'll go really well with the potatoes. It's edible. I wouldn't eat it, but it's allegedly edible, and I just think that it'll be like a pretty flower that I'm kind of mixing in with the potatoes, so that way I'm not like looking at ugly, little veggies. I mean, veggies might be pretty for some, but I don't love it. I'm also doing a papaya. Papayas are really cool. These grow so fast. They're like bananas, basically. You can grow them like a banana, and you might even get some fruit from it if you live in a climate with a long summer, but you probably won't get ripe fruit. You'll just get fruit, and then it won't ripen. If you do get them to ripen, let me know how you did it. Anyway, I'm also going to take advantage of the full sun here. I got a couple of different types of bananas that I'm going to try. We're doing Musa velutina, a rare Incente species that is from Africa that I'm trying for the first time, and there's another one that I forgot about, but it's coming in the mail tomorrow. And of course my Musa Sikkimensis, and then my Tibocina, which is this like really cool tropical flowering shrub. It's so pretty when it's in bloom. It's very bare right now, but it was in my garage all winter long without any light, any water. Like, how could a tree survive like that? That's from the tropics. I don't know. I also have a star jasmine. This is a Madison variety, and that's what it looks like when it's in bloom. It's just so pretty when it's in bloom. It survived the winter, unlike everything else. I mean, look at my needle palm. This is supposed to be zone 6 hardy, and we are zone 8 winter. She looks horrible. I am still like pulling spears. So many spear pulled, which is the center frond, and when the spear pulls, it's not good. And I have 3 that had spear pull. There's like 1 or 2 that don't have spear pull. And anyway, it's alive, but it's not well. Anyway, thank you all for watching. This is just the beginning of a beautiful, long summer. Bye!